didn't when I was there for a year and a half. I didn't push myself to recruit. I was all about PRV, and I was like, I can't depend on other people to make the paycheck I want to make. So I was like, I gotta do PRV, and then I've just been recruiting and reaching out to people that I've never thought would even join before. So
awesome. I'm going to say hi real fast. We're on Facebook Live. Hello, guys. If you heard the tail end of that, that was Allie talking about her success in just the last 7 days. So she left Scentsy, she tried some other things, and she came back with a vengeance. She just said she's recruited more, grown her team more in the last 7 days than how long? What, 2 years before?
A little bit over a year and a half.
About a year,
almost 2 years.
Year and a half, almost 2 years. So, gosh, it's so funny how mindset and just choosing can make all the difference. It's like, what's the secret? It's like, I just decided. And that's why it's so hard sometimes to teach people, how to go for force or how to be really good in this business, is because it's really just as simple as that. I decided and I asked people and I got rid of that fear. So with that, hello again, Facebook Live. We are also here on Zoom talking on the video chat portion of this, and we have a few newbies. So hello again. It's a little bit different, special edition of our Campfire chat, because today is my 6-year anniversary. And the more I thought about what I wanted to chat about tonight and train on tonight, the more I just couldn't stop thinking about it being my 6-year anniversary and looking at photos and just reminiscing. And so I had to somehow wrap that together. Thank you, Rhonda. And so we're going to chat tonight about the things about what not to do to make it sort of like 5+ years. I asked a few of my friends as well to have some insight and some input into this. So I'm gonna go through a few things that I have and also some things that I have. And again, it's sort of be a training wrapped up in itself. So first, I'm gonna read you a couple here. So the answer to what not to do to make it 5+ years. One is, this is from Maggie. She says, only depend on your inner circle. And all of these that are given you are from directors and above. Most of them are star directors or superstar directors. So only depend on your inner circle. Number 2 is from Andy. She says, don't let fear stop you from sharing Scentsy with everyone. These are people that have been in the company for over 5 years and that are star directors and superstar directors. Number 3 is from April. She says, don't ever listen to other people's doubts. You have to believe when no one else doesn't. Man, that one's true. I talked about that a little bit earlier this week, but early on in my journey, it sounds cliche because we say it so much, but it really is a journey. Early on, I remember, spending more than I made. I remember putting more effort and hours into the business, and I wasn't seeing that reflect in the paycheck. And I remember Allison Dalkey said it well, and I probably heard it 3 years later than I wish I would have, but that's intentional. That's going to happen. If you want to build a business, then you need to put in that massive action. There's been books written about that very topic, massive action first, to be able to get that output. Because I think a lot of times people think, oh, once you become a star director, superstar director, you're going to have to sell, a ton. And people outside of Scentsy will say that to me all the time. They'll say things like, oh my gosh, you're a massive salesperson, or you earn all the trips because you sell so much. And really, it isn't about that. It's about you can sell the same amount that you did as an essential consultant as you do a star director and make 10 times more. And it's because Scentsy compensates you for doing all of the training and the mentoring and the programming to train their people and to do corporate trainings at a corporate level. So those things you're being compensated for those. Okay, so next, Kate says, don't tip your toe into your business or fake indifference. out of fear of looking foolish if you fail. If you tiptoe or half-ass it, you guarantee yourself a half-assed business and no longevity. Instead, jump right into the deep end with your enthusiasm and your passion. Don't be afraid to fail. Instead, be afraid of the consequences of not succeeding. That could probably, so that's kind of two separate tips there, but I love all three of those. Let me see if I've got any over here yet. Oh, gosh. So I asked on our Star Directors page, and there's some insight here too. So these are all from Star Directors. So Chase says it's okay to have a bad week or a bad day, but never throw a full month away. It's kind of like that scapegoat thing. We talked about that earlier this week too. Hey Kate, I was just talking about you. I just read Kate that commented on our Facebook Live, her great tip. So, you know, you can't use that as a scapegoat. Like, well, I guess it was meant to be. It was a sign. That party didn't go well. My first half of my month has been awful. Like, I guess it's just going to be a bad month. You can't ever do that. Never put Scentsy above your family because they will resent it instead of love it. This is such a big tip, and I learned this one a little bit later too than I wish I would have. You have to set up boundaries on both sides because you are working a business from your home, and so you have to learn how to separate those things. One of my biggest tips here is that you decide that on, for me, Tuesday nights, I am busy with my team. And that way it's never like, oh man, I can't believe you're doing that, or any question. It's just, oh, that's what you do on Tuesday night. So if you can set it into your schedule, and we always talk about that anyway, right? Like put that into your schedule, and it'll be better. Mandy says, don't assume the answer to the question before you've even asked it. And we do that a lot in recruiting, right? Like, she would never want to do it. She's a doctor. I have a friend that specifically goes after doctors, and she has several doctors on her team. It's a great write-off for them. It's a great stress relief for them. They love Scentsy fragrance too, just because they're a doctor. And so don't ever assume that. Kate says, throw the month away tip is so good. I've definitely done that one and regretted it. Yeah, because you know, it's funny. You see so many times people like pushing for a big trip or a bonus or an award or whatever it is. And the last day or 2 days of the month, they'll all of a sudden get 1,000 PRV in. And I mean, if you can do that in a day, then there's no sense of throwing away a whole month. Another one from Jennifer says, don't compare your success or struggles to other consultants. Everyone grows at a different pace. Right? We're going to talk a little bit more about that one too. Mandy says, don't shortchange yourself. Lindsay says, don't make excuses. Don't be afraid of the word no. Don't spend family money on Scentsy. She said that's from Scentsy Dad, so Orville said that one. He often says that. Don't spend family money on Scentsy. And early on I learned that tip. Try, if you don't already, have separate accounts. Both of mine are under like USAA, under our bank, but I have one that's a Scentsy account and one that is a joint account. And if I need to move things around for whatever reason, I can do that, but it stays really clear that I'm not spending family money on Scentsy. Don't take rejection personally. Don't forget about the training center. Don't wait for someone to do it for you. These are just going to keep coming, so I'm going to probably come back to those in a few. Don't stop recruiting. Always shoot for annual mentors so you are guaranteed to add at least one to your team. If you don't have a good team, when you hit D, it kills your frontline numbers. Don't give up on your goals. Like I said, I keep seeing the ... So they're going to keep coming, but I'm going to talk through a couple that I wrote specifically for you. Sam said, sorry to get off soon. The boys are being crazy. Time for showers in bed. Yeah, I understand that. Next week, school starts for us, so hopefully things are going to start being pushed back way earlier. Okay, so some of the things that I wanted to specifically tell you about to the answer of what not to do to be able to make it 5 years in this business is let drama cloud your judgment on how overall good people are. Now, that drama can come with teammates, It can come with your own sponsor. It can come with your own director. It can come from outside of your circle, from people who are jealous and try to sabotage you. All of those things have happened to me personally at varying levels, at really detrimental, terrible levels where I've almost quit, and some that are just that are not as serious, right? But you cannot let that one person's drama affect you or affect how good overall this business, these people in your lives really are. That's a really important tip because it's so hard, right? The squeaky wheel is the one that that gets all the attention, that makes things happen, that gets noticed. And so unfortunately, when we hear one negative comment out of 100, like, what do we remember? And we have to force ourselves, we have to force our brains to not do that. So that's number one. And number two is, this one's hard. It's still hard for me. It's hard for me as of today, like an hour ago, but get your feelings hurt, right? You have to get a tough skin because everyone is going through something. And oftentimes if a customer is mean to you, if a front line is mean to you, somebody's on the team, anybody is mean to you, especially when it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't add up. There's no reason for it. They're going through something and it's not about you. If you make it about you, that makes you entitled. It makes you entitled to feel like you have that control, that you wholly are responsible for that person's perspective and that person's feelings, and that is not the truth. So you always have to have that perspective of, gosh, they were really mean to me. They're probably going through something really hard right now. They're probably dealing with something that really that stinks in their life right now. Maybe instead of calling them names, I will set up a little prayer for them. Gosh, it's hard to do, right? But it's such a it's a more beautiful way to live, and it brings more positivity to you. And when you train yourself to have that perspective about different situations that come into your life like that, then the more that it becomes automatic. Okay, next is, this is maybe like number one, it's assume. So don't ever assume, and that can just be on all different levels. Don't assume that somebody doesn't want to join. Don't assume that somebody thinks that you're nagging them whenever you're following up. Don't assume that somebody, didn't call you because they don't like you. Don't assume because this happened that happened. You can't do that. You have to communicate in this business. You have to be the bigger person. You have to always be the adult in those situations. And so assumptions can just kill you. And it can, again, be in just so many different levels. Let's see what Kate said here on Facebook Live. She said, so true, it's a tough part of the business, but it's what happens when you get a bunch of humans together. Not only humans, but it's a whole bunch of women humans together. And while we have some awesome guys in our group and throughout Scentsy, we do have a organization that is mostly women. And for us not to have more drama or to fight more is nothing like less than miraculous. I was the president of a sorority in college, and I know what drama is, my friends. And we are very lucky to not have to deal with it very much here. So that one was get your feelings hurt, get tough skin. And you know what? One thing I want to say about that is when those things happen, because I'm going to be real with you, they will happen. It doesn't matter how good of a person you are. It doesn't matter how much of a people pleaser you are. It doesn't matter how kind you are, how positive you are, how nice you are. People are not going to like you. And they may not like you because of those reasons. You can't be everybody's cup of tea, right? Do you want to wash your hair? Okay, Bianca said she's going to be here. You cannot be everybody's cup of tea. And the faster and the quicker you learn that, the better that you're able to deal with it when it comes your way. Because it's going to happen. Now, the getting your feelings hurt, needing a tough skin. I was going to say here that when those things do happen, you have to think of them as stepping stones to get where you are. You have to also think of them as experiences that you are going to need to derive from to be able to teach your teen later. So I always think when I'm going through something really rough, it was a bad sales month, I had some drama, somebody was really mean to me, I always think, you know what, I went through that, like God gave you this mountain so that you could show somebody else it could be moved, right? God gave you, or however you want to visualize that. You were given that experience so that when somebody else is going through that, you can show them that it can be done, that you can mentor them through it. You can be their friend. You can help them understand and see that there's a light at the end of that tunnel. Hey, Shelby, she says hi from Japan. She just moved to Japan. Okay. Next is spend money you haven't made yet. Oh my gosh, I was so terrible about this. And it's because my husband makes good money in the military as an officer. I didn't need this job for the money. I needed it for my soul. I needed to fill this sort of cup of mine. And so what I did is I spent every bit that I had. I don't know that I spent more than I made, but I did certainly spend everything that I had. And I would go crazy at Scentsy Family Store, and there is nothing harder than holding yourself back. But if you think of yourself as a business owner versus a hobbyist, it's going to help you make those business decisions. You are not only the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Executive Officer, but you're also the CFO. You are the financial planner and budgeter and officer and steward of your business, and so you have to make financial decisions that make the most sense for your business. And you know what? Is that catalogs? Yes, it is. Is that testers? Yes, it is. Is it those super cute nail files that you'll probably give away to somebody in 3 years? Maybe not. I know they're cheap, but that stuff adds up. So just make decisions on how you're spending your money with a business hat on. And one other thing in that same vein is one thing that you can do, and one thing that I did when I started, or I did wrong when I started, was I had a new event or I had something. I'm like, oh, I want to go to Hobby Lobby and buy all the things, the new displays, like a new way of doing things, all of those things. And then later I'm like, there's been a couple of months where I'm like, okay, I didn't make as much money, or I don't have any money in the account because I spent it on whatever. So it's like, okay, now what do I do? And it's like, I'm going to pull this from my house over here. I'm going to pull this from over here. I'm going to have this display here. And so you kind of have to have that mindset of scarcity. If you didn't have the resources, what would you do? And sometimes the answer to that question actually gives you some more innovative answers. Okay, next is, oh gosh, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you this one. So early on, I don't feel like, early on, I didn't want to share other leaders' insight or motivation to you on Firefly, because I think I was just insecure in my abilities, and I thought that somehow that made me less. Somehow that made me less as a leader. Somehow you wouldn't see me as a leader. Somehow you would go and I couldn't inspire you. I couldn't motivate you. I couldn't help you. And what I have learned is that is insane. The more the better. And I can say something 10 times and you won't get it, and somebody else can say it once and it will be life-changing for you. And that happens all the time in this business. And that's the crux of that Discover Your Aha Moment group. A lot of those things being said, you've heard it over and over, but when you hear it said just a little bit different of a way, it can be really life-changing and life affirmative for you. That happened in the Rachel Hollis, the author of Girl Wash Your Face. She had the documentary last week, and there was a couple of things that I was just like, and I wrote it down and it changed everything, and I thought, I have heard that so many times. And it was just simple. It was like, stop the planning and the brainstorming and the asking people what they think and figuring out, and just do it. She was talking to her husband about writing a book. Like, no, don't go pull people about, their answers, or go buy a book about writing a book. No, just sit down and write the book. And it's so true. I've heard that so many times, but just the way she said it made me really change my tide on some things. Yeah, and Bianca says to incorporate your own decor, as far as like bringing stuff into your space for an event or whatnot. And that makes the most sense anyway, because you're bringing your flavor, you're bringing your brand into it. Okay, next is believing in the mythical consultant. If you've been around a while, you've heard me mention this. I mentioned it in my SFR talk, but it is so important that I think it's worth mentioning one more time. So, one thing that we do as women a lot of times as consultants is the comparing game. And you hear that a lot. And I actually think comparing is good. I think that when I compare myself against somebody that is the best of recruiting, then that raises the bar that I'm aspiring to. So I actually think that comparison in itself is not the thief of joy. I think that comparing yourself against this mythical consultant that is made up of all of the very best of every one of these people, that's when it can be detrimental. That is whenever it can be the thief of joy, because no one can live up to this person that is the best of all of these people. And not only the best of all of these people, but the best of the best, the highlight reel of all of these people. So you have to be really, really careful and cognizant of that when you start to get down on yourself and you start to think like, oh gosh, I'm not as good, I'm not worthy, because you are, and you can't be the very best at everything. And I've had a couple people, I've had people say along the way like, oh my God, I wish I could be the marketing genius you are, or whatever else, like, but you are amazing at this, and I really suck at it. I'm working on it, but I really stink at it. And so everybody has something that they're really good at, and so you have to remember that. So I want that, if nothing else, to sink into your soul. My phone says that we are low on batteries. I haven't made that mistake in a while. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix that. Facebook Live might have to get cut off early. Sorry, I hope it doesn't happen. Okay, I'll just talk fast. So another one is to turn off notifications. I know it's a silly one, but what happens when you turn off notifications for, say, Firefly or your team pages, is that your feed no longer has Scentsy in it. And especially if you're not somebody that is accustomed to working your business 30 minutes every single day, you get complacent. You almost forget that you're supposed to be working. You're supposed to be doing something. You forget to up your game. You forget that you're supposed to be, looking at your workstation. You forget that the Disney collection launched today, right? You forget those things. So don't turn off notifications. Go to your groups right now that are the most important groups to you, like Firefly and your team pages within Firefly, and turn on notifications and see them first. The other ones that you want to do that with are those that feed your soul, that give you the inspiration, that are positive. Rachel Hollis, she's a great one. I have See First on hers. Goalcast, I have See First on there. And that way I know my feed is not just full of junk, not just full of Scentsy posts, but it's also feeding that self-development side with other positivity as well. And that might be in other arenas. For you, maybe if your brand is really all about coffee or dogs or whatever, maybe you have those that are, you're using those push notifications to make sure that you're getting that in the top of your newsfeed. Okay, next is this go in the same vein, but stay in negative groups. So don't stay in, if I see something negative on one group, I'm out. I mean, that fast. If I see something negative from someone, I unfollow them like that. And it's because I've got to protect my heart and my brain against those things. And it's just, that's how I work, because I'm affected very easily by my surroundings. And we are the product of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And so I don't want that stuff in my life. So if you have negative groups, negative people, get it out. So another one is letting doubt sink in with Scentsy intentions. So what that means is that Scentsy, you have to know in your heart 100% that Scentsy has your best intentions in mind. And if you believe that wholeheartedly and never let doubt sink in, then you will always be able to see the silver lining in even the hardest situations. You'll always be the first one to be able to say, no, they probably did that because of this. And if you don't have that, then you're going to let that doubt sink in, and it'll slowly erode the faith that you have in Scentsy, which is your business, effectively. Yes. Okay. Don't surround yourself with less than the best. Again, we are the product of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So why would you surround yourself with less than the best? Get in a mentor group with other people that are your people, that are one step ahead of you. If all of those people, you're on the same level with them, you're not in the right group. You want to be in a group that people are up above, that are in a higher level than you, so that you are always aspiring to hit that next bar. Next is be jealous. Ooh, this is a good one, and it is so hard, but it's the same thing with that mythical consultant. We all have something. We all are going through something. It doesn't matter how picture perfect someone's life is. You name anybody in the Scentsy community, and they have stuff they're dealing with. They have hard medical issues they're dealing with. Their marriage is failing. Their business is hanging on by a thread. Everybody has something that they're dealing with. So there is no reason to ever be jealous, because your things and their things all balance out, I promise. Next is trying other direct sales companies. There's a few on here that have done that, and happy to say they're back. But I've seen in 6 years so many people that have left Scentsy, and they've all come back. And it's because this is the best direct sales company in the world. It's the best leadership, the best products, the most consumable products, the best range for, the best, it's for men and women and all lifestyles and all product lines. There is nothing better. And so I've thought so many times, I was thinking today that along the line, I thought, oh, LaLaRue, like my friend that started that, she is killing it in business, and like she's making so much money and it looks amazing, and man, I wish I would have got in that early. And now she doesn't do it anymore. She was the top level of the company and she's out. I remember thinking when Jamberry came along, like, oh, I should do that. Maybe I could do that like on the side, or like, it was just one of those like fleeting thoughts. And because I had a friend doing it and doing really well, she's not doing it anymore. And that goes on and on. I've had friends that was in other regions that were star directors, superstar directors. They left Scentsy and their entire team to go with a brand new startup direct sales company, and that direct sales company no longer exists. And guess what? They restarted their business. They came back to Scentsy. Now, there's not anything that could be harder, I think, than coming back to a business after you've left it and lost a superstar director team. That's 80,000 GWV worth of volume in a month. But they did it because Scentsy is that viable. And we are on the ground floor, whether it feels like it or not. We are on the ground floor right now. In 10 years, people are going to say, God, if I'd have only started 10 years ago, because now is when it's good. And don't think like if I would have only started 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was hard. 10 years ago, we did not have half the stuff we have now. We did not have this workstation, this amazing website, these flash sales, this company. It was not the same as it is now. So you didn't want to start 10 years ago. You wanted to be right where you are right now. Let someone ruin your mood. Whew, that one is hard too, right? This happens all the time. But again, if you have that mentality of something is going on in their life, it's not about me, it's about them. I'm still doing good. Write your gratitude list at that moment of all of the people that you are thankful for, all of the reasons that you're thankful for your business. That will help lift that mood right away. Okay, let's see. I had a couple more on the back here. Assume the worst of people and company and situations. So, I can say, I'm going to give you an example, and maybe some of you will understand more than others, but I wrote a post earlier today. It was a post I spent an hour writing, silly, but it was an emotional post. It was just about my 6 years ago and how that transpired, and all of the beautiful feelings that came along with that. And I spent another probably hour looking for photos, like 16, that could somehow sum up 6 years. And then, on the top of my head, just Facebook tagged a whole bunch that were in the photo, and then I just, tagged some, and then I edited and tagged some more, and edited and tagged some more, and there were some feelings hurt. And that hurts my feelings, guys. Like, I would never leave anyone out intentionally. Every single solitary one of you that are in Firefly are part of my journey, and I'm thankful for you. And I go and I do things with a servant leadership that hopefully prove that to you every week and every day. I show up no matter what. I don't know that there's been a day in the last 6 years that I haven't posted right here on this page. Maybe a couple, I don't know. But I show up for you, and I hope that that love language of servitude to you really shows you. And so I want to tell you that you can't assume the worst of people. You can't assume that if you're not tagged, or if somebody does a shout out and you didn't get included in that shout out, assume that, oh, they hate me. Like, everybody hates me. I'm the worst. Like, maybe I have no friends. You can't do that. Just think, oh, she's really busy. Facebook is glitchy. Maybe she's editing it. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she has 3 little kids running around. Maybe. We can't assume. Again, assumption is just detrimental to your business. So make sure that when you assume things, that you don't assume not only about people, but also about the company or about situations. So if the company ups the price, don't assume they want to make more money. No, they are always in it for you. So it's not that they want to make more money, or that this or that. It's that they're about to launch a Disney partnership that they've been working for 2 years on. That's why that thing happened. Or, they are about to do a flash sale that is going to increase our volume of our group by, I think, like $60,000 in June. That's why they do it. So again, assuming the positive versus the negative, and giving some people some grace, especially your leaders. Your leaders work so hard. They go to bed thinking of you, and they get up thinking of you. They're thinking constantly, how can they serve you better? How can they connect with more of you with the time that they don't have? How can they show you that they care and they love you, no matter if you put in $2,000 a month or if you put in $200 every 3 months? They're constantly thinking about those things. So just give those people some grace, and maybe every once in a while send those directors of yours a little message, because Miriam and Fallon and Ariel and Sue, they all do just an incredible job and love you so much. So maybe when you start to feel that a little bit, maybe just turn those tides and send them a quick message. Okay, and then being complacent. So I did I think the post yesterday was about being stubborn. Always be stubborn. I feel like that has been such a cornerstone, which is kind of funny, of my business, because I've always been told growing up that I was stubborn, and I guess it turned out to be a pretty good thing. But even whenever you are putting more effort in that you are getting out, even whenever it looks like there's something else, the grass is greener over here, even though it looks like somebody else is doing better, whatever it is, be stubborn and have some faith, because I think that's really the only difference is the people that have the faith to see that this opportunity can provide them the freedom and the income and all of those things that they want so badly, but it just takes a little bit of faith to be able to get there. It's about assuming you always make an ass of yourself. Bianca says, you know what they say about assuming you always make an ass of yourself. Yes, there you go. I was chatting away, so I don't know if there's any other Facebook Live messages, but those are just a couple quick things that I jotted down. I hope some of those were helpful, not only for kind of learning some perspectives of mine, but just knowing what to anticipate and the things to kind of think about as you move along in your journey over the next 5 years, hopefully. Is there any questions? I'm going to see if there's any other good ones on the Star Directors page. Sarah says, don't assume they are not watching just because they do not comment. Yep, I've said this one so much. I feel like when I was a star consultant and I posted every single day, I was talking to myself, but I still did it because I'm stubborn. And what I found is that when I became a director, those people were implementing the things that I was teaching with the culture, with the training, with their business, with them, how they were teaching their people. And I realized that I had so much more influence that I gave myself credit for. So that goes with your teams, and that also goes with what you're posting on Facebook. I've had so many people just come up out of the blue and want to join or buy, and I swear I've not seen a post for them or a comment from them for years, but they are watching. So if you don't get likes or comments, try real hard not to hang your hat on the numbers of those. Yay! Absolutely, Kate. She said she can't wait to party with me over the next 6 years or so. Happy Cinebreak. Thank you so much. Kate is one of my good friends from Canada. We met on my first Scentsy and Scento trip to Greece. It was a top 100 trip. It was incredible. I flew into Paris first. We stayed for a couple days, and then we flew to Greece. We went to Athens, and then Scentsy chartered an entire jet just for Scentsy people. And we flew to Mykonos and spent some time there. So that was amazing. So real quick, before we get off, just because it's my Scentsiversary and I want to, just tell you a little bit about, well, just tell you a quick story about my story. And I'm just going to read it because I can just say it faster and more succinct, and it won't last as long because I wrote it already. So some of you have already seen it on my timeline, but I'm going to say it again. 6 years ago today, I had just laid down an 18-month-old for bed and was 6 months pregnant, sitting on my couch in South Korea without a job or many friends, and definitely wasn't using my degrees. I was bored, lonely, and honestly pretty sad. I think I was honestly probably on a brink of a little depression. 6 months before that, I was working as an account executive at Bricktown Ad Agency in Oklahoma City, working on television ads, massive integrated marketing campaigns with big budgets and clients in a large range of sectors, including credit unions, hospitals, universities, This was following an ad agency career in Alaska where I helped build an agency from the ground up. And I learned everything there is to know about the 8A small business contracting, startup billing and finances, the ANCSA, the Alaska Native Claim Settlement Act, and trial by fire advertising, all while finishing my master's degree. This career trajectory took me to places like Washington, to the Pentagon actually, where I directly helped pitch a $40 million campaign for the National Guard to 12 generals around the room, and we won it. This was my dream life. But plans and dream lives change sometimes, because one day while Owen was already on a deployment, he was non-volunteered for a tour in South Korea. Thankfully, we were able to accompany him and go as a family, but that meant I had to leave friends, my job, my country, and I wouldn't be able to use that master's degree that I worked so hard for. I spent that first 6 months in Korea really trying hard to fill this proverbial cup. I wrote for an Australian blog, I designed a cookbook, I sat on the board as the communications officer, and I rebranded our spouses club. And I volunteered so much that I was up for volunteer of the year for the entire base, but nothing filled my cup. That's until that blessed day mentioned above. While sitting on the couch on a total whim that night, I signed up for a Scentsy starter kit. I'd never used Scentsy before, but it was only $99, and August has always been a supersized kit month, so I sold. My first party, I sold over $2,000, and I earned a promotion and a pay raise and a Shooting Star award bracelet and a $600 paycheck and $300 in free product. I thought it was crazy. But even better is that it was the start of what has become my calling and a lifelong career. Since then, I've been blessed beyond measure in purpose, freedom, self-growth, friendship, and travel. To places like Greece and New York City and the Caribbean and Punta Cana and Disney World and Disneyland and Mexico and Nashville and so many more. So thank you to every one of you that have been part of my last 6 years as an entrepreneur. I know it's not the conventional way or what I guessed I'd be doing with my master's or what I thought my dream life would be, but gosh, it's so much more, and I'm just so thankful. It's impossible to try and sum up 6 years in a 4x4 photo collage, which I included on my page. But this is just a few highlights and tags of a handful of my favorite people on the planet that have ultimately filled my cup and helped create a new dream life that is filled with kids and gardening and home and coffee and travel and my Firefly team that's wholly better than the one I ever imagined before. So that's my Scentsy story. I'm not crying, you're crying. So thank you all for being part of 6 years, and I'm here for the long haul. So I hope you are too. If you have any questions, I'm sure you don't, but any questions, now's the time. No, okay. Hi everybody. See everybody. I've just been chatting, so I don't know if everybody's on. Thank you all for jumping on, especially since you know this was just going to be me chatting about the story. Laura said she's crying with me. Well, thank you. I wasn't crying. It was just you, Laura. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything, I will let you go for tonight. But, of course, I will see you on the Firefly page often. And thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to say goodbye to our Zoom people. And I'll say goodbye to you too. Extra kisses for Facebook Live. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank y'all. Love you.